88.3 WXOU. You are back listening to Sports Talk with Puckett and Pontzer. We're going to be breaking down March Madness now.
It's pretty catchy.
Yeah, we like it. We know you do too. Michigan and Michigan State are both playing at the Palace starting on Thursday. They're going to be playing Thursday and Saturday at the Palace. So Michigan's a 4 seed in the South region. They're behind Florida, the number 3, Georgetown, the number 2, and Kansas, the number 1. Michigan State's the 3 seed in the Midwest, behind the number 2 seed Duke and number 1 seed in the whole tournament, Louisville. Michigan's going to face off against a familiar opponent for us Grizzlies, South Dakota State. They're going to be taking on Nate Wolters and the Jackrabbits, and then Michigan State's going to be taking on another familiar opponent for the Golden Grizzlies, and that is Valparaiso, a team that came into the arena earlier in the season and was defeated by the Golden Grizzlies in a great game. By just 2 points, I believe.
Yeah, both those games, both the South Dakota State and the Valpo games, were some of the best games of the season. That's when Oakland was really playing their best ball, and it's kind of interesting that that's the way it works out. That they're it's hosted by Oakland, and then you have a little bit of an Oakland connection, obviously, right, with them playing both teams. Right.
So Michigan, like I said, is a 4 seed, so they're going to play the 13 seed South Dakota State, and it's going to be a 14 versus 3 Valparaiso versus Michigan State. There should be some interesting games, especially in the Michigan game. You have Trey Burke versus Nate Wolters.
I think it's going to be a fantastic matchup.
Who Dick Vitale actually said he came out with his All-American teams, and he had Burke on the first team and Wolters on the second team in terms of point guards. So I think that's going to be a great matchup, and hopefully Wolters won't get schooled like Keith Appling.
Right, and not to hype up the Summit League, but Nate Wolters is really a true NBA talent. He really is, and he's on a lot of draft boards. It's his senior year, so this ultimately probably is going to be his final game, and I really expect him to, play really well. And you look at a team like Michigan that doesn't guard the perimeter as well in a lot of their games, and South Dakota State is a team that, just like Oakland, that likes to shoot threes, and they were the best. They were like the second or third highest 3-point percentage team in the nation, and they just like Oakland, they shoot them at a high rate. They're not just shooting 4 or 5 a game; they're shooting 15 a game. If they were able to make some shots fall against the Wolverines over there at the Palace, it'll be a good game. I ultimately think the Wolverines are going to win, but I think Wolters is going to really play well, and he's going to give Burke quite a challenge.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a game that's played in the 80s, much like the Oakland game that was played at the Palace versus Michigan a couple years ago. Yeah, but I think it's going to be a good game, and for a Michigan team that's been struggling a lot recently, I think the Jackrabbits could put a scare into them, and maybe only lose by 2, 3, 4, 5 points.
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan will pull it away at the end, especially because the thing that South Dakota State lacks tremendously is size. They've got Jordan Dykstra, who Drew Valentine was able to shut down this year when he was healthy midseason. But, yeah, I mean, Michigan's got guys like Mitch McGarry and Jordan Morgan that should be able to, they don't always match up as well against Big Ten talent, but I mean, they're going to be matching up against really no one in South Dakota State. And I think that's what's going to prove to be the difference.
Yeah. So the number 1 seeds in the tournament are Louisville, who's the overall number 1 seed in the Midwest, Kansas, who's going to be the 1 seed in the South in Michigan's region, Indiana is the 1 seed in the East, and Gonzaga is the 1 seed in the West. The one team who I thought kind of, I don't know, I'm not going to say that they got screwed per se, but is Miami. Miami was the regular season and tournament ACC champion, which is normally a really well-respected conference.
And this is the first time in the history of the ACC that you have that, the team where they double-dip like that is not a number 1 seed.
Right, and you can't tell me that if North Carolina had done that, they wouldn't be a 1 seed, or if Duke had done that, they wouldn't be a 1 seed. Yes, it's Miami, but they still did the same thing. So I think that they were definitely deserving of a 1 seed. Maybe there was 5 teams deserving for 4 spots, which may have been the case, and they were just the team that got left out. But I think it's worth noting that they accomplished something that's really respectable this season and didn't get rewarded with a 1 seed.
I think the reason for that is these recent sanctions against the football team. I think there's no coincidence in that. I think the NCAA was embarrassed. They had to run their own investigation of the team investigating the scandal, and it was a big embarrassment caused by the Miami football team, which is the big thing down there, and all of a sudden the basketball team's playing well. But I think there's no doubt that there's a reason why. The same going for the Oregon team, where they had some recent sanctions, and I know my little brother's a big fan of Oregon, but a lot of people, you read stuff, they say they should be definitely higher than a 12 seed, but they were kind of knocked down a couple places because of these recent things. I mean, that's the thing about this whole bracket, this almighty selection committee that meets in a random room, and on Selection Sunday, everybody pays attention to them. They have all the power to put people where they are, and that's the thing about the tournament. Of all the championships that are decided in sports, and really pro or college, I think the men's basketball, it's all about the matchups. And people love filling out these brackets. I have mine in front of me right here. But the thing is it's all about matchups.
Yep.
You look at brackets and people say, Ohio State got a better draw than a Michigan State because of who they, have in their bracket. If they swap places, maybe they go farther. People say that, and that's because of those matchups. That's not like in the NFL where if you're the 1 seed, you just keep playing the lowest seeds available. It's different, and it's what makes it exciting. But at the same time, that's why matchups and the selection committee, they're able to say to Miami, hey, that's why we're not giving you the 1 seed. And I think that's definitely, no doubt. Why is Gonzaga and Indiana and Kansas? Kansas lost to TCU, and they're still the number 1 overall seed. Come on.
Yeah, that would be Kansas would be the one that I would question the most of the 4 in terms of putting Miami back in there. But what we're going to do is we're going to go through each region, and we're gonna break them down. So we're going to start in the Midwest, which is
Get that ready for you.
We're excited. All right.
Hot off the press.
So we have the number 1 overall seed, Louisville. And
hold on, I want to North Carolina, A&T, Middle Tennessee, LIU, Brooklyn, and Boise State. Go with those.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. That's tonight too. Crickets. So, all right, we're going to start in the Midwest. Louisville is going to take on either North Carolina A&T or Liberty.
It's going to be North Carolina A&T.
They're going to win too. All right, obviously we're both taking Louisville in that one. Moving on, this is an interesting matchup. Colorado State and Missouri. Missouri is last year they got shocked in the tournament as
right.
one of the 2 seeds that went down to a 15 seed along with Duke. Mm-hmm. But Tim, who do you have in this 8-9 matchup?
Got Mizzou.
I have Missouri also to take on Louisville in the next round. And then we go to an interesting 5-12 matchup between Oklahoma State and the well-known underseeded Oregon. Who did you have in that one?
I've got the Nike Pro Combats.
I think that Phil Knight is actually going to give Oregon uniforms that light up every time they score.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, they help them jump higher and run faster.
Yeah, but I took Oregon also.
Fighting Ducks.
Trust me, guys, we didn't talk about this before. But Oregon, I think there's always a 12-5 upset, and I think that this is a great setting for one to occur.
And some people have also said that Oklahoma State is a team that is higher seeded than they should be.
Right.
So you look at maybe a team that's maybe lower than they should be, and a team that's higher than they should be. They meet up and
right. Maybe it's more of a 7-10 than a 5-12. But I do think it's a good setting for an upset. The next game in the Midwest is St. Louis, the number 4 seed, against New Mexico State, the 13 seed. Tim, I know you know all about these teams.
I went with St. Louis because
they have a 4 in front of them.
Well, no, I know their coach died this year, and they're playing for him, and they're a team that really did well in that Atlantic 10 conference, which is kind of a really strong mid-major conference this year. So I went with St. Louis.
I went with St. Louis also because they have a 4 in front of them. And then we have an athletic Memphis team going up against the winner
Tennessee State.
Against the winner of Mid-Tennessee State, Middle Tennessee State, and St. Mary's. Tim?
This is a big rivalry there at the Volunteer State with Memphis and Mid-Tennessee State. But I went with the former Calipari payroll team, and I picked the Memphis Tigers.
Yeah, I had Memphis also. Pretty sure Calipari is going to be in attendance because his Wildcats aren't going to be doing that.
Oh, no, he's in Pittsburgh. He's playing in the NIT.
Yeah, at what school? Robert Morris?
Yep.
There you go. That's big matchup. All right, and then the stars of the region. Michigan State taking on Valparaiso in the Palace of Auburn
I like
Hills.
to call this the Brandon Wood matchup with former Valpo player. Played against Oakland, then a graduate student. Had his one and done year at Michigan State. Now he's playing overseas. He's been tweeting heavily about this game. He might be at the Palace, as will I. I'm pretty excited for this game, but I think the Izzo factor really outdoes the Valpo factor.
Coming up next, we have Creighton and Cincinnati. Tim, I know Tim. I'm just going to break this down for Tim. Tim's got a conflict of interest here, being from around the Cincinnati area. He wants to go with the Bearcats, also being friends with Jason Maxiel.
I was talking with Maxie last night, and he doesn't have a lot of confidence in his team. He was telling me, and so with that inside information and with the putrid uniforms they're wearing in the Big East tournament, I think that as soon as they show up on the floor, they should just be docked like 20 points when they walk in the arena. But I have Creighton in this one. I think Creighton's is a strong mid-major team.
I also have Creighton because they have an EIGH instead of an AY, so that's fun. And then the last one, we have Duke and Albany. Duke was upset by a 15 seed last year, and they come into a 2-15 matchup again. Tim, do you think it's going to happen?
Well, this time Albany is not coached by an Oakland Christian alum, so I really feel that the Duke Blue Devils are going to pull it out this year.
Right. So, continuing in this conference, we have a Louisville, Missouri matchup to go to the Sweet 16.
I went with the Ville.
Yeah, Louisville is a strong team, number 1 overall seed. I don't see them losing there. We have Oregon coming off an upset in St. Louis.
Like I said, I think St. Louis is a strong major team. I went with them in this matchup.
As did I. And then we have, like I said before, an athletic Memphis team and a Spartan team who struggles with active guards. And I've heard that Memphis, that's exactly what they possess, and they could get under Keith Appling's skin.
I still went with Michigan State. The game's going to be at the Palace. They're going to have a lot of fans behind them. And I expect the Spartans to pull it out.
Yeah, I think the two main factors is going to be the crowd and the coaching. And the guy that took over, his name escapes me, but that took over for Calipari, is definitely, he's not Tom Izzo.
He does not have as big a wallet as Calipari as well.
So, I took the Spartans there too. And then we both have Creighton and Duke playing to go to the Sweet 16. I think that Duke is going to take that one to advance to the Sweet 16 and play the Spartans. So, for my bracket and for Tim's also, we have 1 through 4 seeds advancing in the Midwest to the Sweet 16.
Within Michigan State and Louisville playing each other for that chance to go to Atlanta.
Yeah, we both have them in the Elite 8. And Tim, who's your Final Four team out of the Midwest?
It's a team from Kentucky, but it's not the Wildcats. Unfortunately, they wear red and white. The Cardinals of Louisville.
Yeah, I have Louisville advancing out of the Midwest. Also. Louisville. Out of the Midwest. Moving down to the South, Gonzaga taking on a 16 seed. Tim.
Yeah, I went with Zaga.
Zags.
Adam Morrison would be proud.
Another interesting. These 8-9 matchups are always they're always fun picks.
Yeah.
Another soft spot in Tim's heart. We have Pittsburgh and Wichita State.
Yeah, I went with Pitt. Just wrote it down.
Me too.
Wasn't even a thought. Although Pitt is a team that little Oakland factor. They went to overtime early on in the season in Pitt's home court. So Pitt, but they've since rebounded. I know they lost to Michigan like a week after that, which is kind of an embarrassment given what's happened lately. But Pitt is a team that I think would be able to take care of Wichita State. We had the entire Midwest bracket the same, and we've had the first 2 games in the West the same so far, but I know this one's different. Mm-hmm. We're coming down to Bo Ryan and the Wisconsin Badgers. First of all, Bo Ryan is a terrible human being in general. He's just terrible.
Taking on
who cares?
Eli Manning's babies.
Don't care.
Ole Miss Rebels.
That's, if you don't know, it's Michael Orr and Mike Wallace's babies, actually. There's a guy by the name of Marshall Henderson who is one of the coolest guys, and he's the sole reason I picked Ole Miss. That's my breakdown of this game. He's a white guy that's really cocky. I'm surprised you really don't know who he is, Puckett, because he's definitely he just has this swagger about him that he mocks the fans. They flip him off. He talks back to them. I think he's going to be able to take care of the Badgers.
Okay, so I have Wisconsin advancing. Tim as Ole Miss. Kansas State versus either Boise State or LaSalle.
The Broncos, another Oakland factor. They only beat Oakland by 8 this year.
Are you serious?
Yep.
You're taking Boise State to win the playing
game? No. I took Kansas State. I said Boise State's going to win the first game.
Oh, okay. So we both have Kansas State advancing out of that one. Here's an interesting one: Arizona versus Belmont.
Yeah, I went with Zona.
I took the upset there, and I went with Belmont.
Belmont and Bucknell are two teams that I get readily confused, and they have similar seedings. And so I don't know much about either team. Just going to say it right now. So I went with Arizona.
Yeah, it's an 11-6 matchup. Just feeling Belmont. Don't know why. We'll see how it is next weekend. And then we have New Mexico and Harvard. The Lobos versus Tommy Amaker. Mm-hmm. I took the Lobos in this one. I think that Harvard is still going to be looking for that first tournament win.
You know, given what Michigan's seed is, it's kind of disappointing that they were not matched up with Harvard. That would have been kind of a interesting storyline. I wasn't even sure. I didn't know anything about that coach till I watched a recent 30 for 30 documentary last week on Netflix. So now that I'm fully educated, I went with New Mexico.
And then we have another local tie. Notre Dame is taking on Iowa State, and the former Spartan Corey Lucius heading up the Cyclones.
Yeah, I went with Notre Dame.
I went with Iowa State. And then the last one.
Show your true colors there.
For the last, red and yellow. For the last one, we have the Buckeyes taking on Iona. I took the Buckeyes 2 seed in the conference.
Yeah, you know, maybe if this was Iowa, maybe it'd be a closer matchup. But I don't think Iona has any chance against the Buckeyes.
That was clever. Tim, give us your Sweet 16 out of the West, or the 4 out of the West to advance to the Sweet 16.
Oh, I have Gonzaga, Kansas State, Arizona, and Ohio State.
I have Gonzaga, Wisconsin, New Mexico, Ohio State. Right. So we had a couple games picked differently in the first one, and we have a couple different teams there.
But ultimately, I think Kansas State and Ohio State will be in the Elite Eight, and I think Ohio State goes to Atlanta. I think Ohio State is a team that has just a huge wave of momentum, which is what you need in March. I mean, you have to be a team that gets hot, and they went all the way. They won the Big East tournament. They've won like 7-8 games in a row, and I think they'll ride that hot streak to the Final Four.
So break that down. You have Kansas State beating Gonzaga to advance to the Elite Eight, and you have Ohio State beating Arizona?
I have Ohio State beating Arizona and then beating Kansas State.
Okay. I have Gonzaga taking down Wisconsin in the Sweet 16 to advance to the Elite Eight. And then I had the Lobos taking down the Buckeyes to advance to play Gonzaga. And then I have New Mexico beating Gonzaga and advancing to the Final Four. The Lobos representing the ABQ, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Wow, you are really confident. You know, I like I said, I think Ohio State's a team that really, if they weren't matching up with Louisville, they have a chance they could, have an outside shot at the national championship game. And how they have strong guard play, they have some big men, they have a good mix, and they got a good coach. And like I said, it's just you have to get hot at the right time, and I think they're the hottest team out of the Big Ten.
That's probably true. And just the overall thing, I have the Big Ten, each of the 7 Big Ten teams winning their opening game, because I do think that the conference is strong and they'll represent. And
I do as well. Outside of Marshall Henderson taking down the Badgers single-handedly. Watch, it's going to happen, and you're going to hear it here first, even though this show is airing on Friday night or Friday morning.
But Kansas moving on to the South Conference, which apparently Michigan is in the South, which is humorous.
Some fans think they're from the South. So.
Kansas is taking on the Hilltoppers. Tim's be alma mater.
Western Kentucky has a very nice campus. I've been there. The thing I do not like about Western Kentucky is they have a little bit of a clash with a team that's even closer to my heart, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you look at Western Kentucky's logo, it's actually a hand waving a towel. And they believe that they were the first team to come up with the rally towel idea, and they have brought this up to the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, where they brought up the terrible towel, and it has led them to 6 Super Bowl championships. So you're welcome. That's why Kansas is going to win.
The 8-9 matchup in the South is UNC and Villanova.
All right, Jack Laseta.
So that one's interesting because it's 2 teams that in the past have been very high seeds.
Yeah, two teams that within the past 5 years have they were actually in the same Final Four together here in Detroit.
Along with the Spartans and the Connecticut Huskies. Mm-hmm. But Villanova, UNC. Who you got?
I have the Tar Heels winning that game. I think that they're a team that they're an 8 seed. They're not as strong this year, but they still have some strong guard play, and I think they'll be able to beat Villanova. Villanova, there I go.
Villanova. No, I took UNC also just for coaching once again, and they're a young team, but I think that they'll advance. And so the next one's another 5-12 matchup, which are always tricky. VCU and Akron.
That's why I went with VCU.
I took
had them beating the Zips.
I took the Fighting Shakas.
That's right.
And then we have next one: Michigan, San Diego, or South Dakota State at the Palace of Auburn Hills.
Get their name right, Jackrabbits. Yeah, this game will also be at the Palace. Michigan will probably have a strong contingent of the Maze Rage behind them, and I think they'll be able to pull it out.
I think they might have some angry Spartans in there that'll be booing.
It is interesting. The South Dakota State coach, Campy's been quoted in some of these some of the stories going in since it's at the Palace, and South Dakota coach said, I think the Oakland people that are going to be there are going to be cheering for us. I think the Spartan fans that are going to be there are going to be cheering for us. He expects to have a little bit of a backing going in. And I
would agree with that.
Walters is a guy that you look at these games, and when they're at these tournaments, a guy like Stephen Curry, people all of a sudden get excited and cheer for guys like that, or Jimmer Fredette. Even if they don't have any backing, I think a guy like Walters is somebody that hits a couple shots early, people might get excited.
Yeah, I definitely think that, but I do think Michigan prevails and takes down the Jackrabbits. Moving on, Minnesota, UCLA. Like I said before, I think every Big Ten team's going to win, so I took Minnesota.
I went with the ACLU.
Oh my goodness. I'm just going to move on from that. Florida versus NW State, whatever the heck that is.
Northwestern State. That's who they are. My ESPNU bracket actually has it spelled out, unlike yours. And it says that Florida is going to move on.
Yep. Florida, and then San Diego State and Oklahoma.
Rich Rod is really watching this game along with Blake Griffin on a couch. They're kind of excited about this, but I think that Blake Griffin's alma mater of a year is going to move on.
I think Brady Hoke's going to say, "This is San Diego State," and they're going to move on. That's right.
Unlike his
the
offense.
Aztecs. That's last one in the South, Georgetown and versus Florida Gulf.
I went with the G-men.
Yeah, the Hoyas moving on. It'll make Greg Monroe proud.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. All right, who's moving out of the Sweet 16 out of the South?
I have Kansas, VCU, Florida, and Georgetown.
As do I.
And then I have VCU and Florida. And then I have Florida headed to Atlanta.
I have Kansas and Georgetown, with Georgetown headed to Atlanta.
Well, you don't know what you're talking about.
We had the same Sweet 16 and neither the same Elite Eight. All right.
Going on from there, we have the Hoosiers playing LIU Brooklyn. Got to circle that. And I think the Hoosiers, Zeller, Oladipo, one of my favorite names to say, I think they're going to move on. How about you?
I think Tom Crean's going to attack an assistant. Hoosiers moving on.
After that, we have the other team from North Carolina, besides Duke and North Carolina, and that would be NC State. And I think they're going to beat Temple in this interesting 8-9 matchup.
I watched the 30 for 30 on Jimmy Valvano and
survive in advance. They survive in advance, all right. And then we have the UNLV, whoever they are, against California.
I took UNLV.
As did I.
Yeah, I think they're going to move on. University of Nevada, Las Vegas.
Then we have the Orange, no longer the Orange Men, because the women didn't want to be called the Orange Men, so now they're just the Orange, a piece of fruit, playing the Montana, I believe they're the Grizzlies.
They are. I cannot pick another Grizzlies.
That's absolutely right. If you look at my hoodie I'm wearing right now, it says Oakland Grizzlies, so I believe the Orange will beat the Grizzlies.
Yeah, I agree.